Hi guys, welcome back to my channel for part three of this series, Manifest Your Thoughts into Reality, so that you can manifest business success in any climate. How exciting! Thank you for joining me for part three. My name is Sharon Atkinson. I am a metaphysical transformational coach and a master intuitive healer, and I empower business owners to break through to hit their next level income goals and feel confident manifesting their own financial freedom in any climate, which is what we're talking about today, which is so important. And so this is part of a mindset piece that I use with my clients. Some of the mindset work I use. I also work with metaphysical practices and quantum physics and manifesting to make life easier for everybody. So today is all about how you create supportive beliefs that run on autopilot, operate in the background to support the goals you want to achieve for yourself, which is really, really fun to do because you get to play with possibilities. So I love this part, like the clearing limiting beliefs and is important. Like you need to do that because they're the things holding you back. So you need to get rid of those. But this is where it kind of gets fun because you get to play. And as if you can create and envision something for yourself that you've never previously thought was possible in your wildest imagination, this is the space to do it in. If you've always like wanted things to be easier, and this is the great way to do it by creating a belief that helps you do that, helps you make your life a lot easier, helps you bring in new clients in an easier way, helps you expand revenue opportunities in your business, makes you more magnetic on social media. Like these are the types of things that you get to play with. So you're really only limited by your own imagination and creativity. But I'm going to help you do that today. So, okay. While this is a lot of fun though, like I really don't want to skip over the importance of this either, because the truth is, right, like as your part one, we spoke about how you create beliefs in the first place in your belief system. And in part two, that was all about how you go about identifying and clearing the limiting beliefs, which is great. But in doing that, you also need to know what you're replacing your limiting beliefs with. So this is why this is important, because your belief system runs and operates the way it does so that you don't need to think in every single moment how you're going to think and how you're going to react in a whole range of situations. You don't need to think about how you're going to breathe, what you're going to do if you start sweating on the treadmill, like you get thirsty, grab a bottle of water. Like these are all things that you do instinctively, and you get a lot of comfort from that. And even some of these bad patterns, bad habits, bad reactions, and limiting beliefs that you're clearing out, you need to be able to replace them with something so that you don't freak out. And it can be really stressful for your nervous system as well. If you don't know how to respond in a situation and you draw a blank, and it could be something really simple, like I've seen some interesting things that I've cleared, like within myself and for my clients as well. And, you know, for myself, it could be something no longer pushes my buttons. And I haven't been aware that like that particular belief or pattern or reaction has changed until I'm in that situation. And then I kind of don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, oh, okay then. Well, it's not bothering me anymore. I don't need to do anything. I can just get on with my day, which is so cool. Like, if you have a partner or a husband or a wife and they do things around the house that just get under your skin a little bit, it's really nice when their little quirky intricacies don't bother you. It's just nice. You can stay in this higher vibrational state for no particular reason. And they can go on being as kooky and lovable and all the things. And happy days. It's really nice. But then I've seen with clients too, right? So this one client I was working with, she had chronic anxiety. She had chronic anxiety for her whole life. And we did some work together, and this anxiety shifted. And she found herself in a waiting room to have surgery, and she wasn't freaking out. And as she's telling me this story, she this is the way she described it to me. She's sitting there thinking, normally I would be freaking out about now. My anxiety would be through the roof, but I've got nothing. Like I have no reaction. Like, what's going on? What do I do now? And she said she was waiting for this anxiety to kick back in, but it just didn't. And for someone who'd been so anxious and on high alert her whole life to just not even react, she was amazed, right? Like, what's going on here? And so she went looking for a reaction that she was familiar with because she didn't know if she was no longer anxious, how she's going to behave in certain situations. She hadn't made that decision yet. She didn't know what her go-to like new move was. Instead of being anxious, like what does she do? So she went for something that felt familiar, and it felt familiar for her to be anxious. And so she recreated that same feeling again because she didn't know how else to react in that situation. And like this sounds ridiculous, but because if you're no longer anxious, aren't you like over the moon about that? And like you would think, yeah, absolutely. But if you're not prepared for like the newer, better version of who you're becoming, and you don't know what that looks like, and you don't know how you react when you're no longer like the hot mess showing up for the world, if you don't know what that looks like, you'll go searching for something that ultimately you don't want to be, like an anxious person, just because it feels familiar and you get that sense of safety in your body and for how you're going to be operating in the world. So, this is why this is so important. And realistically, like if you have revenue goals for yourself or income goals that you want to achieve for yourself, you're not going to be like once you're at a higher level, the odds are you're not that person that's freaking out about everything that's going wrong in your business. You're not the person who is highly anxious all day, every day. That's not you. Once you break through to this next level, you're going to change and you need to know what that's going to look like. And this is where self-identity work becomes really important as well, which we're not going into today, but it's really important to know what that's going to look like. Like, who are you? Like, when you get to whether it's 6 figures, 7 figures, doesn't matter. Like, whatever that next step is for you, who are you when you're at that level? Because you're more likely to be a person who doesn't freak out if something goes wrong. Something doesn't go according to plan, launch doesn't work, whatever it is, it's no big deal. You can see what you need to tweak, you implement it, and you move on. Like you don't get caught up in all the drama of what's not working in your business. So tell yourself you have phenomenal ability to achieve anything all day, every day. Get really clear on who you are when you're this phenomenal person, and this is really going to help. So, okay, I am going to share my screen with you too as we get into this because it's going to be so much fun. Oh, helps if I actually push the button. So, I think it's this one. That looks good to me. Okay, so supporting, empowering, creating supportive and empowering beliefs. Excellent. I really love this. So I'm actually going to take you through. So in part two, we spoke about a live limiting belief that was going on for my client, which was, if you're skipping ahead, she's accidentally created this belief for herself where the best way for her, excuse me, to generate revenue in her business is to work for free. And then people will fall in love with her. And about 30% of the people that she has worked with will hire her. So she ends up working for free 70% of the time, which is not sustainable. So we created this new belief for her, which is clients I'm not aware of show up unexpectedly and contact me to work with me because they can see how I can support them. And okay, that's the belief. And then this is a little process we took her through. So I gave her an example of myself and about how I can be aware of other business owners or a coach or a copywriter or anyone that can kind of help me in my business. I can be aware of them without them even knowing that I'm on their radar or they're on my radar. And because I might see things that they post, but I don't, and I really appreciate them, but I might not click the like button. Just like you right now. If you really like this video and you haven't clicked the like button, why not? Click the like button. And, but that's just an example, right? So we might like stuff, we don't click the like button, we don't comment, we don't share, we don't do anything, but we really like this person. So that's reasonable, right? And she agreed with that. Like, yeah, that's possible. Like she can see that people she's not even aware of can show up and go, you know what, I want to work with you. She could see that that's a possibility. And another great way that you can find evidence, so if you remember, we spoke about evidence, you need evidence to when you're creating your beliefs. Another way to collect evidence is to look at all the testimonials from your competition. So testimonials are a great source. You often see these like extraordinary examples of the results and the achievements that people are getting, you know, how people have found someone, whatever it is. Go to coach's page. If you go to a business coach's page, you're going to find some phenomenal achievements and outcomes that people have achieved in their own business as a result of working with this coach. So use those as evidence for beliefs that you're creating for yourself. Also use your own past successes because you have them. You just need to extend what that success looks like and apply it to a new belief that you're creating for yourself. This masterclass, not masterclass, but this is an example I used in a masterclass. That's why it says that. But any examples and stories that I've shared with you, like throughout this 3-part series, use that, like use my stories. That's evidence. And failing that, if you cannot find anything that is going to help you confirm a new belief that you're trying to create for yourself, make it up because your mind doesn't know any difference. You can literally make up something, and as long as you declare it to be true, this is true, your mind is going to believe it. And then as you collect all this evidence, it's really important that you reaffirm your original belief, like the belief that you're trying to create. So, which becomes a little bit like an affirmation in some ways. It's not an affirmation though, because you need to link them together. You need to use the evidence very specifically. So as you see it, as you read a testimonial, you can say to yourself, like, yeah, I can see that this is possible for me because they did it in their business. Nothing to say that I can't do it in mine. And if you want to go that little step further, like if you're already familiar with manifesting and how that works and everything is mirrored back to you in your reality, then you can even say to yourself, but I do this, like this is pretty cool, that if I'm seeing a testimonial, if I'm seeing a success story and it seems so wild, like so out there, like what a leap. This person went from being all the way down here and they've achieved so much in such a short space of time. That's the universe reflecting back my reality to me because I've seen it. So that success is also mine. So it depends on how you want to tweak this, depends on how you want to massage all this evidence into place to support any belief that you're trying to create. And it does not matter what it is, you can create anything. So these are some of the outcomes that my particular client, like as she implemented this, and she was skeptical, right? She's like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work, like it's possible. I'm not really sure. Anyway, so what happened with her is this was in her 3rd week. So in her 3rd week of working together, she she literally woke up to money. So she woke up to a client, showed up in her inbox saying, you know what, I really want to work with you. I really like that you do blah, blah, blah. And she also had a phone call from someone who offered her a long-term contract. And this was to work with her on just an ongoing basis. Come and work for us. I really want you to help me with X. Can we do it? This is what I'm thinking, like I can pay you. And obviously, like they tweaked the figures a little bit to make it, beneficial for both parties. But happy days. Like those sorts of opportunities become possible because you don't know what's going on in your audience's mind. And I'm open to that too. Like I've created like a back end program in case, well, not in case, but because it's happened before, like in my coaching business, someone approached me and wanted to work with me for the year and I didn't have a program. So, but we made that work anyway and they got some great outcomes. But now I have a back end offer. Like when I get those phone calls that or messages like, can we do this like over 12 months? So that way I have something that's ready to go and I can support that person because I want to feel more comfortable with that. I want something that's going to be meaningful, that's going to help someone ready to go. Definitely open to it, as is my client, which is how she got these results in her business. So even though she was skeptical, she's like, yeah, it's possible. And then as she started to find some evidence, she's still skeptical, mind you, but she had evidence. And then she started to use these examples that she created for herself to reaffirm the original belief. So as she got that client who showed up out of nowhere in her inbox, and as she got that phone call, someone wanted to work with her on a continuous basis, she used that as evidence. They're both people she was not aware of, weren't on her radar. She hadn't had discovery calls with in any way, shape, or form that approached her. It's definitely possible. So your own examples become the fuel and the evidence for these crazy beliefs, like really beneficial. But as a business owner, if you can create a belief like this that just runs on autopilot, like that's so awesome. Like, why would you not do that? Because that way, part of your revenue generation is already taken care of. Like, your belief system is going to run on autopilot anyway, and it can either stop and block you or it can support and delight you. You get to choose because it's your belief system, right? So, okay. So if you remember back in 2020, I bucked a lot of trends and I had great success for myself, created some great success for my husband in his business. And I took my startup business and I ended up even though I had a startup business, I turned over just under 6 figures in that year. And I worked with my husband to take his business from 6 to 7 figures in the most lockdown city in the world. And to help me do that, my husband do that, these are some of the supportive beliefs that we created. This is very topical. Like these are conversations we would have all the time. And based on our experiences and what we saw during that time, we massaged like these into place. And as I took you through that example, like you need to continually back it up. Like you can have a belief, but you got to back it up with some evidence and reaffirm the original belief. Like, yeah, this is true. So these are some of mine that I used. So people contact me ready to work with me in unexpected ways. And that happened. I had people want to do energy healing sessions in their car. Like there were no boundaries to how people wanted to work with me. It was really cool. I had generate revenue from multiple sources, which was true. I saw evidence of that. I had energy healing, I had a client contact me for my business, my old coaching business. I had set up drop shipping, a whole range of stuff that I had kind of on the mix and or on the go. And yeah, that worked. And it doesn't matter what regulations come in, there will be provisions built in that will allow me to do whatever I want. And that happened. Like we would see so many announcements in Melbourne about things changing. now you're like I was a non-essential business, and there were different criteria for what that looked like. Just madness, right? And this was quite frequent. So what applied like in the last 3 months was different now, and it was either anyway, the 5 kilometer travel restrictions, all those things. Within those, there were provisions for myself and provisions for my husband to so that we weren't affected. And just to give you an example, like my husband, he was originally classified as a non-essential business, and then he received a letter via a supplier of his from a federal minister saying that he was considered a essential. So he was allowed to go out and about, business as usual for him. He could do whatever he wanted, right? So that's the belief that we created. And then a way will always open up for me so I'm not impacted. And this was really crucial, right? A way is always going to open up so that I'm not impacted. So important. And this one's actually my favorite, this last one. I can go shopping and buy whatever I want, even if the shelves are empty. And this sounds like a contradiction, even as I read it now. Sounds like a contradictory statement. I can buy whatever I want, even if the shelves are empty. Sounds like a contradiction. I'm fully aware of that. But, right, like it is in some ways, it is a contradiction in some ways, but like this evolved. And so I'm going to explain that in a second, actually. Let me just go back to this because this is fun. But it doesn't really matter. Like you can believe anything. This is what I really want you to get out of this. Like it doesn't really matter. You can believe absolutely anything you want. Doesn't matter. You can change your mind. Whatever you think, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Like Henry Ford said that, and it's so true. Whatever you, whatever's going on the inside for you is going to be reflected back in your external reality. It's a fact, 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 fact. But you should prove it to yourself. And like I know that doubts are probably coming up for you. Like, oh, I don't think it's going to be that easy. Maybe she can do it. Maybe. I don't think I can. I don't know if this is possible. And okay, so just ask yourself, right? Like, is this really, is it impossible? Or is this something that you're not familiar with? Because if you haven't done anything like this before, if you haven't intentionally created some supportive beliefs for yourself in this way, then you're not familiar with it. So call it for what it is. Don't label it as impossible because you're going to create a story for yourself where you can't do this type of work and you are going to create more barriers because you can really achieve anything. So label it as unfamiliar, like I'm not familiar with this, and be skeptical because I understand, right? A lot of doubts came up for me in 2022. Like it wasn't, oh, I created this belief and, now I've got all this evidence and happy days, like watch my world change. Like there were doubts that came up for me constantly. And because I felt so challenged and I just had to rely on my mindset and my sheer determination to prove this theory. Like, do my beliefs really affect my reality to this extent? Like, in this rubbish situation of 2020 with lockdown, everything else going on, can I go against the grain and experience something different to what everyone else is? And like, I'd love to know, like, is this going on for you? Like, can you sense this? And like, let me know in the comments section too, like what sort of doubts come up. And I might do a separate video on this to help you kind of burst through them a little bit because you can get stuck on this stuff. So, but a lot of stuff came up for me too. And as business owners, like there's so many areas of our business. And I spoke about this, I think in part one, so many areas of your business where you can feel stuck and you can doubt that there's anything that you can do to change things. And is that really true? Or is it just a story that you're telling yourself? And like our finances are so important. We have so much riding on them. And I don't think it really matters, in all honesty, like whether you believe. Oh, okay. So we have so much riding on our finances, and it can really impact what we want to do, like what we feel we can do, what we're capable of, how much we can enjoy our life. And if we don't have that flexibility to really do what we want to do when we want to do it, we're really impacted by that. And that affects our freedom too. So, what I've learned though is it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, it only matters how you choose to relate to it, to those things, how you choose to relate to that situation. And for me in 2020, like, even though all this cool stuff was happening and, I'm defying logic and all that other stuff, doubt still came up. Even though I landed a $50,000 client, doubt still came up. Like I didn't really believe that this was going on, that I was this influential over my reality until I had an experience with my neighbor, which is why I love this shopping belief that I have so much, because where I can buy whatever I want, even when the shelves are empty. Like this is how this belief evolved for me. And like it was so very funny. Like we had the 5 kilometer travel restriction during 2020. So we had to go to like certain designated places because not a lot of variety within 5 kilometers, which is that 2 to 3 mile mark. And some of my neighbors going to the same place. And every time I had to do like the weekly grocery shopping, I approached it the exact same way. I wrote a list, everything that I wanted to buy, and I would go shopping like it was just any other normal week, like 2018, 2019. Like I've done a lot of grocery shopping in my time. I just treated it like it was absolutely no different. And what started to happen, right? This is how this belief evolved. I just like originally it was just I can buy whatever I want. And I would go shopping with my shopping list and walk into the supermarket, and there would be rows of like empty aisles of nothing. And um, I had these serendipitous shopping experiences throughout this time though. Like I would walk into an aisle like where the olive oil used to be and just see nothingness. And I think, no, I'm going to walk to like the middle of the aisle because that's where it normally is. And that's where it's going to be. And then it was just it was bizarre. It was freaking bizarre because on that shelf, there would be one bottle of oil and it would be the exact brand that I normally buy and just one there waiting for me. And this happened with everything on my list that was in demand, like soap, toothpaste, you name it, whatever it was on the shelf waiting for me. And I remember I went home, I said to my husband, I don't think we buy very popular brands of anything because everything was there, like on the list. And this happens all the time. And in that moment, I thought, whoa, 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 whoa. I just need to backtrack here because I'm disempowering myself because I've obviously created this, even though it's really bizarre. And that one bottle of olive oil would be on the shelf and it feels very surreal and not really happening. Did I do this? Like, what's going on here? It's obvious that I had because it happens too many times for it to be something else. So why would I disempower myself and put it down to, oh, I don't buy very popular brands of anything. And maybe they're not, I don't know, but I just want to buy whatever I want to buy, which is more to the point. And so I decided, no, I can still buy whatever I want, even when the shelves are empty. That is how that belief unfolded. And I remember one day I was having a conversation with my neighbor out the front, and she she was so annoyed. She was just annoyed that she had been shopping. She can't buy anything that she needed to get. She can't buy flour, can't buy pasta, can't buy air freshener, can't buy toilet paper, all these things that she couldn't buy. And she's getting really annoyed. So I offered to pick those things up for her when I went shopping the following day. And she said to me, well, where are you going? And obviously, with a 5 kilometer radius, I'm going to the same place she is. And she got so annoyed with me because it was like I hadn't heard a word she'd been saying for the last 5 minutes about how she just went to the supermarket and they had absolutely nothing. There's nothing there. And then who do I think I am to just go, oh, I'll pick it up for you tomorrow? Like that was how frustrated she was with me by saying this, but I couldn't buy into that conversation because it's not what was going on for me. So I wasn't going to support it in any way, shape, or form. I understood how frustrated she was though. And I said, look, well, I'm going anyway. I'll have a look and I'll see, like, got it. I'll pick some stuff up for you. And she's like, whatever, Sharon. And then that's how that conversation kind of ended. And like, I get it. Like, very, very, I don't know anyone that had similar shopping experiences to me during that time. And so, anyway, the next day, I'm off to the supermarket. I'm going to pick up a birthday card. And as I'm driving there, I'm thinking to myself, I hope that I haven't gotten too cocky and that when I get there, like I can't buy anything because sometimes when I get too cocky, things don't work out as I've planned, like in my head. And I thought, oh God. And I noticed like straight away, that's a limiting belief I have that when I get too cocky and confident with things, things don't pan out. So I had to clear that belief in the car on the way to the supermarket. I worked with the etheric field and the quantum field like in the moment, and I manifested everything I wanted in that supermarket. This is within a 5 kilometer radius. So it's not a long drive, really short drive, right? And I get there, I walked into the supermarket and I can see no toilet paper in anyone's trolley. No one's carrying this stuff. I'm thinking, no, that's not right because I can buy whatever I want, even when the shelves are empty. So I headed straight for the toilet paper aisle because I was hell bent on picking this up for my neighbor. I headed straight down to the toilet paper aisle. And as I turned in one end, a staff member turned into the other and with a pallet full of toilet paper. And so I walked up to him. He unwrapped this pallet and handed me the first box of toilet paper or whatever of toilet paper. I thought that's better. Everything I want to buy, I can buy whatever I want every time I go shopping, even when the shelves are empty. And it is amazing how the universe accommodates this for me. Like a staff member just happens to be unloading toilet paper. Like, how beautiful is this story? So then from there, I went and picked her up some pasta. I went and picked her up some air freshener as well. And I picked up a birthday card, obviously, for myself while I was there. And then I just remember her face. I knocked on her door and I handed her this bag of groceries. She looked at me just so dumbfounded. Like, she said, where did you go shopping? I said, the same supermarket you went to yesterday, the one that we always go to. And she had lost for words. Like, she was very grateful, of course, but just this stunned look on her face, like, what? And this really proved to me, like, this particular moment proved to me that it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It only matters how you choose to relate to it, because that's what you're going to experience. So for my neighbor, her belief was every time she goes shopping, she can't buy anything she wants to buy. And that was true for her. Whereas me, who lives next door, is going to the exact same supermarket as her. I can buy whatever I want, even when the shelves are empty. That was true for me because every time I went shopping in 2020, after it looked like the supermarket had been raided and there was absolutely no stock in there, I could still pick up every single thing on my shopping list. So it does not matter. And I know this wholeheartedly. It does not matter what is going on in the world. It only matters how you choose to relate to it. And this is just some of the mindset work that I do with my clients. And it's so exciting. Like, I love it so much. It's part of the abundance mastery system. And there's also the metaphysical side of things and the manifesting side of things. But you can absolutely rewire anything about yourself on the inside to change what you're experiencing in your external world. You can absolutely do that. So if you've struggled to achieve the financial outcomes in your business, and could be something really little because or smaller, like you think it's because of social media or it's because of an algorithm or people aren't seeing whatever you're posting, or it could be something on a much bigger scale like the economy. Like if you really feel that that's going on for you and you want to change that so that you can improve your financial position, when you learn these tools, a few things start to happen, right? So you start to have a heightened sense of empowerment like you have never experienced before. You know that you can confidently influence the money coming into your business as well as the expenses going out. And you start to see new opportunities appearing from places, numerous places. And I know that some of you are probably thinking that this is a lot bigger than you are right now. But the truth is, your beliefs are already creating your reality and and the financial outcomes you're experiencing in your business. And why you allow these limiting beliefs that don't support your goals and don't support the financial vision you have for yourself, why you allow them to run the show, you're not going to get there. And you're not going to get there easily. It's like trying to drive a car with one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas pedal. You just can't drive a car that way. And it doesn't matter how hard you try, you're not going to get anywhere. But that's my forte, is helping you lift your foot off the brake so that you can start moving forward again in your business and start seeing the financial outcomes that you want to see for yourself. And I am so committed to helping business owners do this because in 2008, I was a business banker and I saw so many businesses struggle throughout the global financial crisis. But now I know it does not need to be that way. It does not need to be as difficult, as tough, as stressful if you don't allow it. So, what I'd like to do, I'd actually like to invite you to book a 30-minute breakthrough to abundance discovery session with me. And in that session, it's a free session. In that session, we're going to talk about your goals and I'll give you some intuitive insight into what your biggest blocks are and put together a little transformational strategy so that you can start to get unstuck and start to move forward again for yourself. I've put that link in the description box for you. So you can head over there and book a time in my calendar. There's different time slots available too, just to accommodate, because I'm in Australia, obviously, to accommodate different time zones, but they are on a first serve basis. So make sure that you book that in. And I'm really looking forward to sitting down with you one on one and getting you some support. And if we're a fit to do more work together, then I'm absolutely going to invite you in to do that so that you can learn these tools and you can rinse and repeat how to use them for the rest of your life. And that's how you create financial freedom for yourself. So, guys, thank you so much for spending your time with me today and for watching this series. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear from you in the comments section. So please drop your comments in there. Any questions you have or just some feedback. Love to hear from you. And thank you again. And yeah, I will see you all very soon. Ciao, ciao.